Come seeker, come traveler, come all humankind, online or in person, whomever you love. Come and be welcome at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Cheyenne. Here we are building a community of refuge where all have equal worth and are invited into spiritual exploration as a foundation for hope, compassionate service, and action. This is a place where questions are encouraged, a place with room for all of who you are. This is a place full of works in progress, a place for being human together. Welcome. It's good to be here. And now I invite you to settle in. Feel your feet on the floor. Feel your seat on the seat. Take some deep breaths. Be present here. This is a time for community. So my name's Audrey Bunton. I'm here both as a worship associate and as a board member. And I'm here to welcome you to this church, where we are in shared journey to find meaning, connection, and community together. If you are new to us, please fill out a welcome card that you'll find in the back of the pew. It should have a blue border around it. Here you can fill out information so that we can reach out to you about our activities and help find what nourishes your spirit here. There are also note cards in your pew for writing your joys and sorrows for the pastoral prayer. We pass a rectangular basket during the offer to gather these. Write your name, or you can remain anonymous. You can write "Do Not Share" on the card if there's something you want held in care by our minister and pastoral care team, but not spoken aloud. Many activities and events happen each week in this community. A couple that are coming up is August 2nd. It's on there. I did not bring up. 3rd is when the Vitavu picnic and event are happening. And it's August 3rd, yes. 2 weeks from today. And people are invited to bring your first fruits to share for a community salad potluck. Thank you. And there will be a granola communion for that. And then the other thing is game night happening this week? Okay, because I saw it as a possibility and I wanted to check. So game night is on hiatus for this week? Okay, all right. So that is it on our announcements. The rest you can look at in your order of service. And then next I would like to invite Julianne up to invite our Share the Plate partner for the month.
Good morning. I'm Julianne, and I'm on one of the Share the Plate committee. We gather in person and on Zoom each week, giving our resources to sustain the work of this church and share our abundance with community organizations, broadening the reach of our values. Excuse me. You can find the text to give number in your order service or use your Realm app for electronic giving, or your Share the Plate offerings and pledges may also be dropped in the baskets in a few minutes as they pass. Our Share the Plate partner for July is Pride Cheyenne. Let's welcome Troy and Stuart to tell us about their work.
Good morning. I am Troy. I'm just going to speak some prepared quick remarks, and then Stu will follow up if that's all right with you. To begin, thank you all so much for the opportunity to speak with you, and to thank you truly for your continued support of Pride Cheyenne. The community here at UUCC has been a source of strength and encouragement for us and for all of our community, and we are deeply grateful for that. Pride Cheyenne began as a quiet conversation between the two of us back in 2022, and we saw the need for visibility, connection, and celebration of our LGBTQ plus community and the people right here in Laramie County. So what started as that simple idea has now grown into a community-wide movement. And since we became an official nonprofit in 2023, our work is centered on building spaces where individuals, families, allies, and advocates can feel safe, seen, and supported. Our cornerstone event is the Pride Cheyenne Street Fest, which just completed its third year, reaching more than 1,800 individuals in our community. It's the largest such gathering in Cheyenne, and it's designed with families and allies and friends in mind. As we work to offer more of that, from hikes to theater to karaoke to community outreach, we work to offer a safe, welcoming space for our community. And with the support of faith communities like this, we're showing the broader region what it looks like to celebrate the love, the inclusion, and the belonging. And as an all-volunteer organization, every dollar we receive, we ensure goes directly back to creating the events and resources for our community. We don't operate with the overhead or staff, just with heart. So your generosity is truly helping the people that need it the most. And if you have any questions or ideas for us, for our community, we are always eager to connect with you. So thank you again for being part of this work and for the extraordinary support this month and throughout the year. You remind us what true allyship looks like. Sorry.
I am Stuart, Pride Cheyenne. If you want to know more about some of the work that we do, you can reach us at info@pridecheyenne.org. You can also find us on our Facebook page at Pride Cheyenne. We have events throughout the year trying to bring community together. We hope to continue to share our joy with you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. And now I'm pleased to introduce Rabbi Moshe Halfon, who is to be our guest speaker, and he's going to perform this morning during our offertory. He has served as a pulpit rabbi, cantor, Hillel director, chaplain at a prison, and special education instructor. He has been the spiritual leader of Mount Sinai Congregation here in Cheyenne, and is now in the process of finding his next calling. In fact, we wish him the best on his interview in about an hour and a half or so. Reb Moshe is an accomplished guitarist and singer who performs Hebrew, Yiddish, Latino, Middle Eastern, blues, jazz, and folk music.
Oh, and now the thing.
Yes, now the thing.
So if you look in your program, the song that we're doing, I'm singing, but it's for your offertory, is from Isaiah chapter 2, 4, and a lot of other places. Actually, it's another version in Malachi. Lo yisagoy el goy cherev, velo yilmadu od milchama. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. And you have an easy part to do, and this is while you're doing offertory, right? Okay, so you don't have to sing the Hebrew or the English. You can just do kind of an ostinato. Either hey ho or either one. Hey ho ho hey. Lo yisagoy el goy cherev, lo yilmedu od milchama. Hey goy el goy cherev, lo yilmedu od milchama. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. Hey, oh, 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 hey, hey, oh, oh. man shall sit neath his pine tree, and none will ever make him afraid. We shall live in peace together, and there never will be another war. Lo yisa goy el goy cherev, lo yilmedu od milchama. Lo yisa goy el goy cherev, lo yilmedu od milchama.
Thank you, Rabbi. For these gifts of generosity, we are very grateful as they help support this beloved community and the community beyond our walls. And now for our call to worship, let's bring ourselves into a worshipful space, feeling centered and grounded. You can close the eyes or soften the gaze as you bring the awareness inside how your body is feeling. Letting go of the distractions of the day so that you can feel this as sacred space. Some of the words for this morning are from Micah 6, verse 8. What does God require of you? Only to do justice, love goodness, and walk humbly with your God. And the Talmud, the commentary on the first 5 books of the Bible, continues, where there is no ethical person around, you must be that person. I invite you to contemplate, what does it mean to be that ethical person? What does it mean to take our intentions and our ethics out into the world as an act of worship? Now for our opening hymn. I invite you to open your gray hymnals and rise in body or spirit to join us in singing number 134, Our World is One World. And I invite anyone who would like to help lead in the singing of this to come join the hymn choir up on the chancel at this time.
Our
The flaming chalice was first used by the Unitarian Service Committee as a symbol of life-saving refuge for people fleeing persecution in Europe. As we light this chalice, we invoke the love that called people to put their lives at risk to save others. May we be the vessels of life-saving welcome. And now, if the young or young in heart would like to join us up on the chancel at this time, we invite you to share the leadership of speaking our covenant in unison before our time for all ages. And the words of our covenant may be found in the inside cover of your order of worship.
Do we need a mic or not really? Well, I know this lady, and I had to meet Carmen. What?
Right. Oh, gotcha. So we'll do our covenant first.
Oh,
and
oh.
then you. Yes. So it begins with love. It's the spirit of this church, and serves its cause. This is our covenant, to dwell together in peace, to speak truth, and to help others.
Well, there's not that many little people. Anybody else want to be a child at heart?
We all are.
Yeah.
We've got a few in the nursery listening. Yeah.
Well, I'm not as nervous as I thought I would be. I prevailed upon Reverend Elizabeth, pulled her out of maternity leave, official maternity leave, but for two selfish reasons. One, I wanted to meet Carmen, and two, well, there's three, actually. The second reason is I am leaving town sometime soon. I didn't know when I would see you again. But mostly, there's some young, come on. Yeah, this one I know. And I thought to myself, I haven't been here in a while. I've been here 3 times. This is the 4th, or maybe it's the 3rd. But I said, gee, they don't know me. These kids don't know me. I know you. I remember you.
Yeah.
But if we're going to talk about these topics with younger people, come on, there's a couple of kids back there. And I thought Leo would be here too. Leo is Josh and Mary's kid. Anyway, the topic kind of is from their point of view and our point of view is that same verse. See, I'm more assertive than I thought it would be. But that verse that was read, where there is no person, and the Hebrew in the old way was male-oriented, but where there's no ben Adam, which means something like human being, right? But we translate it as mensch, a person of ethics. A good guy, a good person, right? When there's nobody around that has ethics, you got to be that person. So a lot of you may remember that I worked for 16 years in corrections in California. Or imagine, this one I know. Imagine being in a concentration camp or even being in Cheyenne. If you're in a mob or if you're in a group of people and then somebody begins attacking other people, they're weird, they're different, they're immigrants, they're eating the cats and eating the dogs. I mean, come on. And one of the things I'm going to say, I'm so grateful that I can speak freely here. By the way, I am no longer with Mount Sinai. My last official service was June 20th. They said bye-bye. I've been coming, and I'm still in town. But so I don't represent the synagogue, and I'll say that a little later. I represent, Jewish values, as do you. But what do you do? I think open question, especially for young people, is what do you do when somebody is being attacked? And you're the only one there, and you got to put yourself on the line, like going to a demonstration or speaking out or writing an article in the paper, and you're afraid that somebody's going to attack you because you're standing up for that other person or group of people. Trans people, immigrants, could be Muslims, Jews, could be, and you remember the famous saying unfortunately, of Pastor Martin Niemöller, who was a Lutheran minister in Germany, who actually went along with the Nazis for several years, kind of being, I won't make trouble, and he started to finally stand up. And his famous saying is, more or less, they came for the communists, and I didn't say anything because I wasn't a communist. They came for the labor union people, and I didn't say anything because I wasn't in labor union. They came for the Jews, and I didn't say anything because I wasn't a Jew. They came for the Catholics, and so on. And when they came for me, you know the rest of the line. There was no one left. Anyway, Reverend, you want to open? I mean, you go ahead and I asked you to be here.
I think this is a really present and important question that we're all kind of wrestling with in these times is, what does it look like to be a mensch, to be a good guy, to be the person who is self-aware of being a human among humans? Because we believe in the inherent worth and dignity of every person. And that means we all have people who we love, people who we know, who are currently endangered by the actions of this administration and the actions that are emboldened when people think that it's cute and fun and trendy to be hateful. And so here is one of the places we come to reflect on that and practice. What would we do? And so this might be a good time for folks just to think in the audience, is there something you have done in the past that has been helpful when people were trying to say that someone was so different that they must be dangerous, so different that you should be able to treat them poorly? That might be racism. That might be fear of trans people. That might be around gay marriage, back in the 90s especially. I know we were working on that when it was quite thoroughly illegal here in Wyoming to marry a person of your same gender. So I know most of us probably have had practice doing this at least once in our lives. This might be a moment to think that through, and maybe even to share if you have a short something that worked.
Just wanted to add, reflecting, I've been here 4 years, and when I first got here, the synagogue has for several years gone to the Air Force Base to do a Holocaust program, and I didn't know what to expect. I grew up kind of not anti-military, but not expecting positive stuff, and I was blown away. It was a room filled with both people in uniform, out of uniform, and I believe the Colonel Kolowitz, I believe it was the name. After I spoke, after we sang songs, we talked about the Holocaust, we talked about the whole issue, and there were black and various other ethnic groups in the group too. And I expected the Colonel would say something like, "We will have zero tolerance for anti-Semitism and racism here," and all that kind of stuff you always hear when I worked in corrections also. Organizations and government institutions always say, "We will have zero tolerance," wink, wink. Instead, he personally spoke about growing up in Germany, and then as an officer taking his children to Dachau, to the death camp, to show them. And it was very amazing to me to see that. So, but I was aware, and you guys that's why I think about this community, there have been or were instances on the base, and children, mainly children of airmen of color, who were getting made fun of in school. So back to the kids, even though there's only one young person up here, but how old are you? 19, he's not, he's not, I thought it'd be like little people. Oh, there, oh,
got
oh,
Maddie,
there you go.
too.
Do you want to, you always, I remember last time I was here, you
he's
you
our
spoke
most
a lot.
fabulous
What would you do, what's your name again? Maddie? What would you do if somebody was being made fun of in school, especially if it was somebody that was different, a kid wearing, a girl wearing a hijab, or somebody, that was from another country?
I would stand up for them. I would talk to the bully. You can't do this. I'm not gonna allow you.
Give her a big applause. And then we forget that when we're 35 or 60, right? Oh, I shouldn't say anything. I might get in trouble. Somebody's going to attack me. Anyway, onward.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just remember that phrase, though, in your mind. You can remember things from, I have a great joke, you know this one. Not a joke, but you guys may remember the show Kung Fu with David Carradine. And they would always have and I'm not making fun of his accent, but he would be having a flashback to the old man who was his teacher, this blind monk in China. And he would say, oh, grasshopper, and remember this. And then the guys who were the screenwriters, a lot of them were Jewish screenwriters, and they would find a line somewhere from the Talmud and put it in there, right? Oh, grasshopper, remember, well, there is no human being, you must be that human being. So just remember that line. Anyway, thank you so much for having me. And thank you, Carmen, for sitting through this. She's chilling out over there.
She's very chill.
Oh, I think I need this guy, actually, but. No.
And now will you join us in a spirit of prayer? Again, finding that way to be present in this sacred space, whatever that means for you. Spirit of life and love, God, divine, great mystery, whatever name you have for that, or perhaps the nameless thing that connects us all. We gather here to be with one another, hoping to support each other as a comfort in hard times, to celebrate our joyful and happy moments, to dwell together in the wonder and mystery of this magnificent and ever-changing life. I'd like to add our thoughts and prayers with Ron Lebec, who is in the hospital at the VA. We offer prayers for his healing, for his comfort. And we offer joy for the group that helped with Camilla. They served 60 people yesterday. We ask us all to be aware of those who are suffering for whatever reason, in response to floods, in response to famine, in response to wars. May these people who are being affected feel the warmth of community, feel that help from the world. May more of us feel called to step up and be that good guy to help out. And may we acknowledge and be grateful for this time of year, this time of height of summertime, of the warmth of the growing of the fruits, the vegetables, the foods that will soon be harvested, if not already so. We give thanks for the ever-changing earth and hold room in our hearts for all the joys as yet unshared and the sorrows too tender to be spoken aloud. May we find in this space peace, comfort, and community that unfolds us. Amen, and blessed be. And now our sacred message is from Deuteronomy, chapter 16, verse 20. Justice, justice shall you pursue. The sages ask, why is justice stated twice? To remind us that just results can only be achieved by just means. Even the pursuit by any political party or candidate of goals they fervently affirm are just cannot be done by suppressing voter turnout or by assassinating the characters of their opponents. Then the Torah goes on to put clear limits on the centralization of political, economic, and military power. This passage puts constitutional limits on royal power, limits that speak profoundly and precisely to the present crisis of power in America. The king may not pile up horse chariots, which were then the chief weapons systems for the imperial aggressive war. He may not accumulate wealth for himself and his cronies out of payoffs for favors or the misuse of tax money for aggrandizing private gain instead of meeting public needs. He must not pay the costs of his army by sending people back to Mitzrayim, linguistically meaning the tight and narrow place. As the music plays, I invite you to reflect on what justice means to you.
Well, good morning. Is it coming across okay? This is a good mic, okay. Well, first, a lot of, turn off the phones. A lot of speakers always tell a joke or two. I do that partly to calm myself down, but to, get you in a good mood. But a couple of things. I want to thank all of you for inviting me back, and for Reverend Elizabeth for inviting me, and also for coming with Carmen. And a couple of things, as I said, as Audrey said, I don't know where God is sending me next. I have an interview this afternoon with an interesting group in Salem, Oregon. I'm from California, and so a little bit of this is going to be biographical, but I don't want to bore you with my stories, but except that I grew up in California from parents from New York. Didn't everybody? And nice, good Jewish parents that were very liberal. My dad voted for Henry Wallace way back in 1948. And they went to Pete Seeger and Woody Guthrie concerts. And so I grew up in a very strong liberal Jewish household. And so some of this is my own story. I also want to share that I've been speaking in churches. I spoke in Cody. So I've been sort of my farewell tour for Wyoming. I'll be back, I'm sure. But did you know I had many synagogues, small ones. I had one in Long Beach, California, and we used to rent from a UU church. So UU churches have a long association with the Jewish community, and some of us are Junitarians. I might be one. Because, just like the insignias, I dance with Nigerians, I drum with Africans of other faiths, I meditate with Buddhists, I've danced in the woods with the Wiccans, and I've gone to church. I've been to a masjid, that's another word for an Islamic center, but I'm in my own tribe. The Jewish star, the so-called Jewish star up there, did you know that it is also the sign in Sanskrit for the heart chakra, anahata? And it is mystical. It is supposed to be the triangle facing up is us looking to the heavens, to God, to the divine world, and the triangle facing down is the divine world looking down to us or connecting with us. And so, in other words, they meet in the heart, right? The upper and lower worlds. Isn't that cool? And of course, that was not the original Jewish symbol. The original Jewish symbol or Hebrew symbol was the menorah, the 7-branch candelabrum. And as I said, I really feel at home in UU churches, but I'm a Jew, right? And I want to recommend a book for you, and I'm going to try to stay on the subject, but I've chosen an impossible task, as I told Reverend Elizabeth, to try to weave together this theme of justice, justice you shall pursue, as an American Jew who's lived in Israel and for all intents and purposes kind of identify that way. I was there, I went there when I was about 18, 19, came back for a couple of other trips, studied there for another year in the 80s, and after 40 years, this is, you had me here in 23, after 40 years I went back and I saw Israel. I spent that whole year right before, in the summer of July 23, and in October 23 is when the attack happened in Gaza. Excuse me, I get my water. So some of this is my own story. How do you keep your faith as a person of conscience in this country or in any other country? In France, in Germany, in Sweden, all over the world, attacks are taking place on democracy. It is, just inconvenient for the powers that be. Fascism is growing, or fighting to grow, or trying to make a comeback. After many years in the dark, the cockroaches are coming out of the woodwork. I should have said this at the beginning, but it's obvious now. I don't represent Mount Sinai. And even when I was speaking, I would always make sure to say I don't represent them. I do represent Mount Sinai. I do represent the Jewish tradition of my forebears, including generations of rabbis, social justice warriors, and writers from my tribe, like Howard Zinn, Harvey Milk, Bella Abzug, and my own childhood rabbi, Alan Setcher, who was in Whitefish, Montana, retired, and he's gone back to Chicago. As a young rabbi, he was one of the Freedom Riders and was arrested in 1964, along with 15 other rabbis in St. Augustine, Florida, with Dr. King for trying to integrate a pool. And Alan, spoke at my synagogue when I first got here. I'm also inspired by Rabbi Joachim Prinz, who I never met. He was a rabbi in Berlin who escaped in 1937 within months of the Nazi crackdown, and he devoted much of his life in the United States to the civil rights movement. And he was a rabbi in Newark, New Jersey, and president of the American Jewish Congress. And in 1963, he represented the Jewish community and was one of the background organizers of Dr. King's famous March on Washington. And he followed Odetta, the folk singer. And just after that, Dr. King delivered his I Have a Dream speech. Dr. Prince said in various words, I'm not here just to support you, I'm supporting me. He said, I have a memory of what happened in Europe when fascism took over. And he said, this is one quote, the most urgent and most disgraceful, most shameful and most tragic problem is silence. That's what he said. So, as was read, and that's the nice thing about coming here, I didn't realize until this moment, Audrey, that, by putting all those different quotes, I don't have to say as much because it's in the book. Justice, justice shall you pursue, says Deuteronomy 16:20. Well, so tzedek, tzedek. Anytime you have something repeated, like Moses, Moses, Abraham, Abraham, there's always a commentary that gets into why is it repeated twice, the name or something. So justice, justice is interpreted by many to mean that you have to fight for justice, but you also have to be careful about how you do it. It's got to be through just means. You can't use violent means, even if the cause is just. And that whole section goes on, as you read, to talk about how the king can't be aggrandizing power. I don't have to tell you, and that's why I think I'm so glad to be here. And I could probably give a version of this talk at Mount Sinai, but somebody would say, don't talk about politics, Rabbi. We are witnessing right here in this country the rise of fascism. Call it Christofascism, but I don't want to add the Christ name to it, but some form of, this same beast that was around in Europe, and it's happening in various other countries as well. The Torah tells us in no less than 49 places, in various versions, Exodus 22:20, you shall not oppress or wrong a stranger, for you were strangers in the land of Egypt. Leviticus 19, if a man from another country is living in your land with you, do not make life hard for him. Let him be to you as one of your countrymen and have love for him as for yourself. And then Deuteronomy 24, you shall not subvert the rights of the stranger or the fatherless. You shall not take a widow's garment in pawn. Remember that you were a slave in Egypt and that God redeemed you from there. Therefore, I enjoin you this commandment. And so the book of Exodus, begins with the ascension of this new Pharaoh who knew not Joseph and says, hey, I don't care what you did. Joseph says, well, don't you remember I helped save the economy, right? Immigrants have helped this economy. And these immigrants, they say, these Hebrews cannot be allowed to continue their ways. The Jews will not replace us, right? Substitute these transgender people, these uppity women who want to control their own health decisions, these unionized workers. So I stand, and I know a lot of my colleagues do, rabbis, ministers all over the country, stand for the immigrants, stand for the Muslims. We stand for those who cannot, even for those who speak out against Israel. like Mahmoud Khalil, right? And others like him. Even that free speech, they should not be deported. And people who are there now, every day you open the paper, you watch the news, you hear about another person being spirited away. The most recent one was even a man who'd been here for 35 years because he went to show up for his hearing. I'm really angry. The Talmud also says, the Torah, says, Lo ta'amod al dam re'echa. That's also from Leviticus 19. You must not stand idly by the blood of your neighbor. Well, these are our neighbors who are being terrorized and being forcibly removed. And that's one of the things that's so interesting and in some ways strange about being in Wyoming. You have not seen, I think, the degree of extremism. I don't know about the kids. I have not seen ICE anywhere here. Maybe they just don't think there's that much to worry about here. In LA, before I moved here, I think it was during Trump's first term, I was downtown at the detention center you see on the news with a horde of other rabbis and Jewish community people, along with mixed, but we actually set up a Jewish demonstration wearing our taluses, our prayer shawls, in front of that detention center. And it was on the day that's coming up in about 3 weeks, the day called the 9th of Av, a fast day that remembers the destruction of the temple in Jerusalem. It's very, very moving. And of course, I went right over to the cops and I said, thank you for being here. It was a very appropriate demonstration. There was no violence. If that had happened today, and it has happened, there would be violence. There is violence. So I have so much to tell you about, and how am I going to do this? Again, a little bit of my biography is when I was growing up, and my parents and my own friends, I had a friend named John who was a Mormon, another friend who was Christian, and the three of us guys would get together in high school and debate what would we do if we were drafted or we were called before the draft board. Well, I started studying Jewish sources, and that's what kind of turned me on to my Judaism, was reading stuff about Jewish positions on war. Do you know that, Maimonides said you must not go to war if there are kinds of wars that are required, self-defense, but an optional war, you must not, you have to be careful how you conduct it, and so on. John did not get that kind of support because he was in the LDS, in the Latter-day Saints. But eventually, I wrote up, I hold the position to be a conscientious objector, got to 1969, I'm a little old, and I didn't have to go. I got a high number in a lottery, but it helped me to prepare. But one of the questions they always used to ask, not me, but they said, if you're Jewish and you go to the draft board, they're going to ask you, what would you do if an Arab was attacking your home, right? Because Israel. So to be a Jew in America or in France or Argentina or any part of Europe, not to mention Israel, is to be kind of aware, no matter what our relationship is with Israel, whether we've been there, we've heard about it, when that happens, when something happens there, the Six-Day War, and now October 7th, or God forbid, even going back to the 1930s, we're always aware of it. We all are aware of humanity, inhumanity, and violence, but it's just something that it's plugged in. Even the most assimilated Jew will say, gee, I heard about what happened. Gee, what happened? So you remember I came and I spoke with you all in 23, and I talked about the opposition in Israel before this event happened, before the Gaza attack by Hamas. And the demonstrations that were taking place in Israel against, I just call him Bibi, we just call him Benjamin Netanyahu. Netanyahu is much smarter than Trump, but there's a parallel going on. Netanyahu has several cases, I talked about it when I came here, against him for corruption of all sorts, including bribes and inappropriate influence of the press. And these cases keep on getting delayed and delayed and delayed. Guess what? And again, there was a war, there was an attack, it was violent, I'll get to that in just a moment, but as long as they keep the war going in Gaza, he doesn't have to go to trial. And it's to his interest to keep this war going. So in 23, when I went there, you got to imagine, like millions of people in America, all over the place, like demonstrating. The percentage-wise, the demonstrations, I was in Haifa visiting my friend, and I went through 4 train stations, and in every train station, there was a demonstration against the government because Bibi was trying to control who gets appointed as judges back then, called judicial reform. I went back in 24, after the horrible events of Gaza attack. The same individuals, or many of the same people who had previously been demonstrating against the government, they knew they had to report for duty, but they also set up phone trees and hotel management and self-help groups. And so I'm part of a WhatsApp group now in English and Hebrew where I know what's going on, demonstration here, demonstration there. And so they've been demonstrating on behalf of the hostages in Gaza. But guess what? Even I was surprised. Now, after all the fighting, there have been people demonstrating just last night in Jerusalem. Last night being their Saturday night. In Jerusalem, people now are standing out, not a lot, but a large crowd, with pictures of children from Gaza. We will not stand for the genocide. We were attacked and our people were killed. And now I will get a little bit graphic. On that day, or that whole period, October 7, 8, the Nova Festival, I spoke about this when I was here, I think. The Nova Festival is a big rock festival in the middle of the desert area, and 7 kibbutzim, that's little farm villages, were attacked. I was at one of them. The destruction was unbelievable. They would have a home and they would say, in this house was so-and-so. In this house was this family. I went into the home of a woman it was her home, but she had been away, and her daughter was staying there with her boyfriend, and they were killed and attacked. And she actually had the woman, instead of destroying the house, she turned it into a walk-through museum with blown up text messages of her messages back and forth to her daughter, who was killed along with the boyfriend. It was horrible, and I saw these with my own eyes. So how do you live with violence here and there? To slog through the 70s through the 2000s is beyond our scope. But as I said, during my first trips to Israel in the 70s and 80s, labor was in charge. It'd be like the Democrats or labor in England. I know you know that it's a parliamentary system. The ultra-religious were not. The right-wing fringe was out there, but they were not. Suffice to say that the Israel that I knew and loved and still loved is being threatened by the same types of fascist forces we are seeing here. That's my message to you. If you don't understand, it's much more complex, but it's the same issues. They want to control what people read. They want to control the activities, and there's a little meme going around, memes. How Iran is a situation, and it goes like this: the Iranian people long for democracy like Israel has, but the extreme Israeli right wing long for an ultra-nationalist fundamentalist government like Iran has. So imagine, if you go to Israel and you go and say, I'm sorry, you can't go in there, your dress is too short. Or they stop your son and say, excuse me, are you gay? You can't come here. So it's just uncanny. However, again, I want to say to you that the demonstrations and the protests and the opposition is strong, very strong. 82% of the Israeli public wants to stop the Gaza war. Conversely, in this country, we are seeing our present administration use anti-Semitism, which is real, as an excuse to clamp down on free speech, academic freedom, and the rights of people in general. So we should not tolerate anti-Semitism in any form. That's my message to you all. We haven't seen it in this state as much. I have seen it, and I will be seeing it if I go to California. One of the positions I'm interviewing for is to be an ombudsman for UC San Francisco, a medical school, right? So what is it to criticize Israel is legitimate. To attack Jews in Boulder or in Washington, D.C., or in Pittsburgh, as if we represent those guys over there, that's intolerable. But it's also just as intolerable for the Republican government in this country to try to manipulate American opinion and Jewish opinion by saying, we're Columbia, right? So they're destroying the academic freedoms. So I'll end with these ideas. What is Zionism? Zionism was simply the desire, the movement, the hope, the dream to reestablish a safe homeland for Jews after 2,000 years. It has succeeded. I mean, it's real. Israel is real. Israel is real. It exists. So I'm sorry to say this, but anybody who says to you, I'm not anti-Jews, I'm just anti-Zionist, is an anti-Semite, or is bordering on anti-Semitism. They don't realize that if you talk about the destruction of Israel, that is an anti-Semitic, that's killing people. On the other hand, there needs to be some kind of a peaceful resolution. And if only people would leave us alone, maybe there would be them. So I want to end with two quotes, one from Albert Camus, the French writer who was not a pacifist per se, but he was part of the French resistance. I've always admired him. And he said this, and this was around in the 60s here. I should like to be able to love my country and still love justice. He further elaborated, I don't want any greatness for it, particularly a greatness born of blood and falsehood. I want to keep it alive by keeping justice alive. So, you can say, I love America, and I am patriotic, and say, I am fully opposed to what is happening in Washington, and fully opposed to this attempt to destroy our democracy. In the same way, I can say, I love Israel. I think about retiring there. I have many friends. I'm fluent in the language. And so to be a Jew, at least of my type, is to be stuck with this same issue, right? Martin Luther King, in his day, wrote, it really boils down to this, that all life is interrelated. We are all caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, like your song that you sang earlier, tied into one single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly. We are made to live together because of the interrelated structure of reality. If only Dr. King had lived. So as difficult and painful as it is, we must continue to walk together, work together, pray together, and fight together. And my prayer for you guys as I'm leaving, I don't know when, the next couple of months, is to continue the fight and take care of yourselves and love each other. And I have a song, but we'll sing it at the end. Thank you so much. And bless you. Oh, the funny thing is, in synagogues, they always used to say, don't clap, but I love it. It's a lot of churches, I notice everybody's clapping. So thank you very much. Thank you, Reverend Elizabeth. Did I get everything? Okay, this stays here.
And now please rise in body and spirit, or in spirit, and join us in our sung response, number 1017 in the Teal hymnal. It's Building a New Way. And I do invite the hymn choir to come up as well. And now please remain standing as we extinguish our chalice flame and speak together the words that you can find in the order of service. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of committee, or the fire of commitment. These we carry within our hearts until we are together again.
Actually, I'm sorry to, is it Josh? I'm going to stay here because I've got the lyrics. You can sit, please. Is that okay? You know, I mean, hymns are wonderful, but so on the very last page of the booklet, this is kind of, it was going to be the close of my talk, but the way you structured it, it's great. This song was written in 1971 in the heady, optimistic times after the Six-Day War by two guys. One of them is still alive. And it was performed by the Israeli Army entertainment troupe, right? So if you're talented in Israel, in the Army, you get to make a career, and then most of those people go on to become stars. And it was one of the first real rock tunes. Israel was, folk music and, accordions and guitars. And it blew me away. I'm a song leader at summer camp, and I learned this song, and I started doing it with kids. And it came and went, just like American songs that come back, peace movement songs that are still around. And then suddenly the song burst into consciousness again in the 90s, my explanation here, during the Oslo peace agreement. And Yitzhak Rabin got up and at the last event that he attended, 1995 in Tel Aviv, and read the lyrics. And then as soon as he got down off the stage, or shortly thereafter, he was assassinated. So you may want to look this up. There is a picture of the lyrics of the song that was in his pocket with bloodstains on them. And it is really tragic, but it also still is around, this song. So I'm going to sing it for you in an English translation that I wrote. And I won't do the guitar, you won't hear the amplified guitar, but... And there's a part you can sing at the end, just a la la la. We who've died cry out to you to rid the land of strife. All your patriotic songs won't bring us back to life. You'll never find the peace you crave with walls or bombs and guns. But every child's life you save, that is a victory won. So don't just pray that peace will come. Let's work to bring the day when all the nations see that there's no way to peace. This is my lyrics. Peace is the only way. So let us sing out shalom. Don't whisper just a prayer, but we must sing out shalom, so all the world can hear. Here's your part. La 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 la. Sing out shalom. Don't whisper just a prayer, but we must sing out shalom, so all the world can hear. Shalom. Shanti, thank you. Due to the fact that I got to be home, I'm not going to be able to stay too long. I'll be around to answer some questions or chat and have a little nash. Thank you again. You may be seated. Or you maybe get up. You may be seated, you may get up.
And